I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guests are Liz Larson and Bill Mckenna. First, I want to thank everyone that has made donations to help our friend Cory's dog, Hazel. She is going to pull through. She's responding to the meds. She's doing much better, eating, up and around. So thank you all who donated very much. That is so greatly appreciated. And Hazel thanks you too. We are booking guests for December. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Be sure to watch my films, Doors of Perception on Amazon Prime, Occult Louisiana is on Tubi. Today I want to welcome Liz Larson and Bill Mckenna. Liz is a visionary researcher, author, and co-creator of Cognomovement. She is known for her inventive approach to healing people and rewiring their nervous systems for profound, lasting change. Bill Mckenna is the author of The Only Lesson and founder of Cognomovement, a groundbreaking mind-body system designed to rewire the nervous system and dissolve deeply ingrained patterns. Liz, Bill, welcome. How are y'all doing?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on. Looking forward to this discussion. We're going to be talking about the system you both designed called Cognomovement. It's a method that helps people rewire their nervous system using movement, vision, and sensory input. It helps people heal trauma, deal with stress, cravings, and emotional triggers, and you have already helped thousands of people with this technique. So very much looking forward to sharing this with my audience. There's a lot to get to with this. Before we do, briefly introduce yourselves and tell the audience how they can find out more about you. We'll start with you, Liz.
So I'm Liz Larson, one half of the Cognomovement system. I'm based out of Southern Oregon. Bill and I are in different states. I have a background in neurolinguistic programming, but also I'm just one of those people that was kind of born knowing things they shouldn't. So when people ask the question, the information comes. And that's kind of how our origin story started and how I met Bill.
My story was I had no interest whatsoever in any of these things. The only person I was interested in helping was myself. Yeah, I had very limited subjects: yachts, helicopters, money, and martial arts. Minimal, very minimal subjects. But anyway, bottom line is, many years ago, I had a very abrupt, aggressive awakening. I wrecked my yacht in Mexico, and that cascaded into a series of events that ended up with an awakening that I had no intention of having, and everything changed. The flip-flop from being of service to myself to, compulsive towards me to compulsive to try to help others. And with that, a lot of different studying of different modalities and actually doing it. And but of course, Liz Larson came on, and we joined forces, and we figured out some methods together to help people in ways that seem absolutely impossible. Impossible scenarios is what we seem to really excel. Now, there's a garden variety, traumas, both physical and emotional, that when we do these exercises, we can help people. But the things where all hope is lost seems to be a area where we seem to accelerate and provide some changes for people in their lives and in all aspects. I always like to say is, what aspect of your life does your brain have to do with? Mm-hmm. It's every aspect, whether it's spiritual, emotional, your athletic performance, your finances, your health, everything. So we work within the nervous system and the brain, and we're able to get people hyperconnectivity and hyper performance. So even if somebody doesn't have a problem, we can help them to get performance which is unheard of.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that introduction. Let's learn about Cognomovement. First of all, tell us a little bit about how it was developed. We'll start with you, Liz.
So it really started with both Bill and myself, our backgrounds, what we brought to the mix. Like I said, when I met Bill, I was working as a neurolinguistic programming practitioner in the area of brain remapping, getting the brain to change itself, basically. And the first thing that Bill discovered was that there are multiple parts of the body that need to be stimulated for the brain to really come online fully. So he was activating the left part of the brain with complex geometric symbol. We use these funny little balls and color. And then the right part of the brain with 3D kinesthetic and touch. So it could get the left hemisphere interested in the right hemisphere interested almost immediately without doing anything else. Then there was bilateral stimulation, meaning moving left and moving right across the center line of the body would get that left and right hemisphere talking to each other. The next thing that Bill layered on in the beginning was sensation. Feel it. Let your body have the pain that it has. Let your body have the pain. Now we say, let the body tell the truth. Just really allow it. We're not pushing it away. You're not spiritualizing it. Just let yourself feel it. Now, this applies to physical pain, emotional pain, existential dread, all of it. It all boils down to a sensation. You can't have an emotion without a sensation in your body. Most people don't realize that. You really think it's in your head. It's not. It starts with a contraction in the body. So Bill then, he was working with some old ladies, on Sundays, and he could get the pain gone in the beginning with the other things he was doing, but it wouldn't stay gone. When he added these aspects of the physical, the pain would stay gone. So we were talking to each other every day. By then, we'd done some other things. And he said, this is working. There's some amazing things happening, but I don't know exactly why. I said, Bill, that's a brain remap. Just straight up, where you're remapping the brain around that signal. So I started to layer on what I knew. And the next thing we did is we started moving it through the way the nervous system handles information, kinesthetic body, logical mind, and then ideas and inspiration. So eye position changes access to how your brain processes information, right? Look down, you see somebody looking down, and you're like, oh, they're sad. What's wrong, right? Somebody, eyes straight ahead with their mouth hanging open, they're zoned out, neutrality, right? Logical mind, eyes and ears. If your eyes are up, You're either in praise and worship, you won, or you're thinking, right? So this was the next level that came on. And we realized that we were activating in maybe 1 minute all these parts of the brain, including all of your auditory, visual, and kinesthetic inputs, meaning the way the body learns. So right away, we're like, oh, the body is learning a new way. We're taking the input that the brain and body are giving, the neurological signal, and we're giving it some other opportunities, some other options, and it's learning that that's more resourceful. So what we discovered with just that little thing, it's not so basic when I say it out loud, but looks basic, could create lifelong change. The first Cognomovement session in full that Bill ever did changed his friend's life forever. It's a really fun story.
Bill, anything to add? And I'd love to hear the story.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I'll just add a little bit and then I'll tell the story. You know, this effort with Cognomovement has been evolving week by week. Literally, new discoveries week after week happen. And interestingly enough, we make the discovery and then we look up, and because we get these incredible changes, then we look up through the National Institutes of Health. It turns out there's a bunch of research already about these things. And so it turns out that all of these underlying mechanisms to create change, there's basically in the National Institutes of Health, published research, we're able to pull it all together. But it is not just movement of the eyes. For example, Liz discovered that it's your peripheral vision, the part that you're not moving your eyes. All of the peripheral vision out here can affect your nervous system and your brain and make incredible changes. And what I mean by this is Liz was working with some nonverbal autistic kids, and they didn't have control of their body. They can't talk. They actually become aggressive anyway, and they're not really well understood. But Liz, with her gift, like she talked about a little earlier, she kind of, just information comes to Liz. And anyway, she was like, my gosh, I can't get the kids' eyes to move because they can't track. They don't have any control. And so she was like, oh, you just use their peripheral vision. And she did. Oh my God. The changes utilizing peripheral vision in different ways that we have now have enabled the kids to start communicating. Wow. Unbelievable. They become relaxed. The body, when they communicate, they're like, it's the first time I can feel my body. Literally, that's the feedback. The first time. And these are kids in their 20s, and the first time that they not only can be in their body, but also the aggressive, type of things that they don't even want to do. They don't want to do it, but it all calms down. These are impossible circumstances, that there's been no great solution for. And these simple exercises to exercise the brain in a different way and cause a relaxation, which sets up a cascade of other benefits. But that would be a great example of just 1 week of Cognomovement. And what I mean is 1 week of one of the new discoveries. Now you multiply that times, 52 weeks times 10 years. There are things that we would be talking until, a couple months from now, if we were to start talking about all the little things that we know about their sight, their sound, and their proprioception of their touch and their depth perception. It's all integrated into the Cognomovement system. And it's how we get these changes. But to answer your question, the very, very first session was it was a lark. I was a friend of mine who I'd known since I was 18. He asked for a ride to the airport, and because he was going off on his business trip, and I said, sure, but you're going to have to be my victim. I got an idea, and I want to try it out. So I brought over a ball. My wife sewed up a ball. And made it out of cloth. We printed it on a, didn't know you could do this, but you can print on a laser printer. You can have cloth that goes through a laser printer and it prints it out, and you just sewed it together. And so we made this ball, and it had all these colors on it. And I said, okay, all I want you to do is I want you to just feel your biggest problem in your life. I don't care what it is, and I don't want to know. And we started doing the exercise, the very basic exercise, and had him just to call out the colors and catch the ball on either side. Anyway, bottom line is it was only a minute or two, and he was like, my belly button is hot. And I was like, it's like the freaking strangest thing, right? In my lifetime, I've never heard of a hot belly button ever. From anybody. Yeah. And I was like, and it was making me laugh, but he was sweating profusely, and I'm just throwing him the ball. Okay, just stay, I'm throwing him this little ball. So it's not like it's like light as air, and he basically, I'm dry as a whistle and he's sweating profusely. And then I'd say, okay, just keep going. I want you to feel what you're feeling. A few minutes later, he was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. I said, no. He's like, I can't, my heart. And I was like, no, you're not. Keep going. I knew it wasn't, but he physically felt like he was going to have a heart attack. And then a couple minutes later, his throat closed down, and he was like, I can't breathe. And I was like, well, how's your heart? Heart's fine. And it's like, boom, I kept going. Just feel it. Just feel the problem. And then he said, my head, he could talk. The air could go through, but he said, my head, it feels like somebody's, I got a headache right here, and this is all in several minutes. And then it went to the top of his head. Ow, my top of my head. And whoosh, it was gone.
Wow.
And it took him to the airport, and he was like, well, I was like, what was that? He said, I don't know, but I can't feel it anymore. I can't connect. I'm confused. I can't feel it anymore. Anyway, it was several months later. I still remember it was in the summer, and him and his wife, I hadn't seen him since. Him and his wife came over, and I asked him, hey, I didn't ask. His wife said, you know what? We bought like, I think it was 2 or 3 houses in Utah, in a small town in Utah. And day one, they were cash flowing. Now in California, this is impossible. They had a ridiculously low down, and day one, they were all cash flowing. So she said, oh my gosh, it was so great. Oh yeah. And we started a business with caring for bees, bee collecting and that, and we're making money on that. Wow. And she goes, oh yeah. And he took this part of their structure of their house, which is independent, kind of an out garage thing. And he's got it all permitted to make a 1-bedroom apartment with it. And he said, "Oh man, we're making $1,000 plus a month on this rental as well." He says, "We're taking all the money and we're paying down our mortgages." And we're making money. We're making so much money and just paying everything off. And his wife said, this all became possible after that thing you did, with the ball. And I was saying, oh wait, well, what was the issue to my friend? And he said, well, the issue was that I'm coming up on retirement age and I just don't know how I'm going to survive. And the only thing he could think of was to buy a trailer and move out to like a homestead, like in the desert, like just get a plot of land in the desert in a trailer. And I always like to call it that methamphetamine lifestyle. Out there, just screen door in the wind and tumbleweeds and whiskey and, anyway, I was like, oh my God, that was the only possibility with his brain. It like one circuit was firing, and it was a stuck feeling in his body, which was down in his belly button, which ended up moving through his body and out. And with that, the connectivity, this hyperconnectivity in the brain, which turned into his finances turning around, not by magic, but like Elon Musk, he sees possibilities. He's like, oh my gosh, I can just make a rocket, and I can make a rocket and I can finance it, or what, I think I'll buy this, and change the world or whatever. I know people maybe don't like him or they do like him, but it's basically hyperconnectivity in the brain. When it's coherent, stuff starts happening. You're figuring stuff out.
If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey, knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order. What this can do for people is essentially release stuck energy from their nervous system that, once it clears, could open up huge possibilities for what they're capable of with cognition and their consciousness and awareness and connection to everything, right?
Yeah, it's connection to everything. So,
well, I was going to ask about the nervous system and the importance of being aware of our nervous system health and how it's connected to trauma and what your technique does to the nervous system.
Okay. Well, the nervous system takes in all the information in our whole reality. It's what takes in the information through your eyes and sends it to your brain. It's what takes in the sights and the smells and the sounds and the touches and the subtle changes in atmosphere. It's what tells the body what's going on around itself and internally, but it's also the system that delivers information back and forth between the brain and the body. So once that information comes in, it is then calculated and considered, and then the appropriate action or inappropriate action is then decided on by that same limbic system. It's all a threat assessment system, right? So how you take in information informs your actions and your reactions. So if you're in your mom's belly and a huge noise happens and the mom jumps and the adrenaline flows and the baby has heard the sound, it might record sounds are the most scary thing ever. They mean death. And you might come out with this weird, scare sensation. Everything scares you. The sounds are, and you can't figure out why. So the nervous system starts learning just shortly after conception, really. The wires start being connected. And it creates patterns. It saves energy by using the same neural pattern again and again to decide, is this safe or is it unsafe? And that applies to things that hurt us emotionally or things that hurt us physically. It's a really, really good system when you learn, don't touch the stove, it's hot. You learn it once. The body's like, oh, danger, right? It's not such a good system when you learn, maybe nobody likes me.
Right.
Right? So that's what we look at, is how does the body learn? When did it learn it? At what point? Things like concussion, head injury affect your perception of life and how you take it in and the actions that you create after it in a huge way. Psychological things, physical things, spiritual things even can be affected by things like drugs, bonk to the head, a surgery, dental work, or a life trauma. So what we do is we take a look at the body to see, how is the body running that neural pattern? What's the loop between the brain and the body? What's the sensation that's created to make the brain decide what action to take? When we can get the body to correct that loop, show it that it's actually wasting energy, it will adjust very, very quickly. And then all kinds of things related to that pattern just dissolve. But here's the cool thing. Our nervous system extends 6 to 8 feet around the body in a healthy person, 40 to 60 in a psychopath or a politician.
Oh, wow.
We can make ours that big as well, but we're constantly in each other's neurological soup. Mm-hmm. Once we're connected, we're always connected. Doesn't matter where we are on the planet, and our nervous systems interact with each other. We tell each other what's safe, what's not safe. So we're emitting these signals all the time, and other bodies pick them up. So when one body changes the way it takes in information, let's say about an emotional state of fear, for example, I'm afraid to fall in love, I'm afraid of money, then that signal internally starts to extend externally. And the next person you run into feels that new signal, and then they're changed by it. And the next one and the next one. So we look at it this way. Changing these neural patterns does not just change the individual it's being changed in. It has the ability to shift reality for a whole group of people, for a family, for a group of friends. It's like Bill's talking about. This one change changed his financial situation. Obviously his relationship with his wife, how tense that had to be. She experienced it too. And then every one of those people who benefited from those homes that were for rent have that experience too.
Wow.
So it's like putting a drop of water and seeing it ripple.
What can happen to people is they are also more spiritually connected, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So your consciousness, your level of consciousness is based on really the amount of available energy that's there. So Bill and I have a big event every year. It's called Cogno-Conscious. And we use what's called the Hawkins scale from David Hawkins, just as a scale. At the bottom of that scale is shame. And it has a level of a number of 20. But what it really means is that you're literally sucked down in your energy to that 20, meaning that your nervous system doesn't really let you see anything else except for shame. You see the world through that lens. There's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system, which does this. It just squeezes it down, squeezes the information down to a singular point, because if you're vibrating at that level of shame, your nervous system is there. It knows that is so painful that it's got to be aware and looking for it all the time. It's the alligator around the corner. So as these things are released, so once the body sees that, oh, wait, that was just a sensation that I got during a particular time in my life. It's not really real now. All of that energy floods back up. And you could move from shame up to neutrality or even acceptance or the level of love, which changes the universe, right? So it's really about letting the body take in true reality, seeing how everything really is, letting enough information in to then decide. Otherwise, you're just seeing the world through shame, fear, guilt, anger, even pride, even courage are some of those things that can drain energy. So when people clear these things out, and we've seen it year after year after year, day after day, clear a heavy pattern out, all of a sudden, they're manifesting things in their life. All of a sudden, they've attracted that new person. All of a sudden, they're living life with compassion, kindness to people they hated, right? I mean, we have seen people go from, I think I want to kill that person, actually, to I absolutely understand where they're coming from and I have love and compassion for them. And it happens not over years of therapy and conversation. It happens over releasing a pattern from the nervous system. It's infinitely powerful.
What is the fastest that you've seen results? Can this take care of a lifetime of trauma with just one session?
Well, trauma, I should go back up a second, and that trauma can be emotional or it can be physical. And they really are very much married together. Liz earlier was talking about concussions. And, you played football, you got in an accident, you fell off a horse. But when you get, I'll show you a picture. There's this guy, his name is Dr. Daniel Amen. And Dr. Daniel Amen started something called the Amen Clinics. And what he did, he was a radiologist turned psychiatrist. And this is back in the 90s, I think, or maybe 2000. He was like, we're the only doctor as a psychiatrist that does not look at the organ that they treat. And he had a background in being a radiologist, so he started scanning people's brains. Now, he made some unbelievable discoveries. He's several 100,000 brain scans now, and he has discovered that behavioral issues are really physical issues. I'll show you. This is a picture that he took. This is brain. This is a normal brain here. You can see the different views of the brain. You got your top view, your left, right, and bottom. Now these are very. This is a real scan. So you notice how smooth everything is. These are some pictures of people who have fell off a horse or got in an accident. You can see the holes in the brain. Yeah. And the unevenness relative to the other pictures that you just saw. Now, the amazing thing is that he was able to discover that, let's say somebody never had a physical injury like a concussion, but they got divorced. Their parent passed away. Their, whatever, they were emotionally or other abuses. It will look like a physical injury. And they have the scans to actually prove it. So in answer to your question, why you asked, how long does it take? Well, it depends. We have worked with people with really severe situations. And with really severe situations, with them having limited capacity, what we do when we do these exercises, we do them over an extended period of time. It could be anywhere from a few months to 6 months. But those are fairly significant injuries where they find themselves like their whole life shutting down, their finances, relationships, they get divorced, and they don't think it's related to what happened to them. It's just my life is crumbling. But but for the masses of humanity, uh, just like the very first Cogno session, you can make a lot of progress with just one session. There's also do-it-yourself programs that we have where you can actually simply just do the sessions yourself. There's follow along program where you can actually um, learn and do for yourself. Or there's also practitioner program where you learn and you become certified and help other people.
Excellent. Now, Liz, let me ask you, how can people become more aware of how their nervous system is functioning? You mentioned in the talking points autopilot. How can we become aware if we are on autopilot with our nervous system?
Yeah, that's a really hard part for sometimes it's really hard to see yourself. And so what we always start with is sensation because like I said originally, most people do not realize that their chronic thought patterns or the trauma, the biggest trauma they've had in their life actually starts with a sensation in the physical body. We're so focused on the head all the time, right? And thoughts that we forget this part really is the driver. So that's an important word, the driver, right? So we'll have a person focus on the focus on the issue and begin to notice where does their body get active. There is a very particular sensation and sequence that happens with every problem pattern, right? So let's say you're thinking about the worst thing that happened in your life, your worst fear. As a starting point, your body goes into fight or flight. And then there becomes a point sometime later in the day or even in the hour where your thoughts switch to something else, right? Oh, I got to feed the dog. Oh, I got to go outside. Oh, I got to do this or that. And the pattern sort of stops. And then there'll be a trigger and it starts back up again, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can figure out the mechanism that your body uses to start that pattern, that's the first step in changing it. So where does the body get active? How does it feel? So it might be in your throat, at your chest, your belly. But weirdly, it might be in your hands. If your hands start to tingle, or you get a cramp in the bottom of your foot. The minute you know that, now you have choice. Now suffering becomes optional. And you can take a physical action to turn that signal off, or at least for the moment to distract the body away from it, right? So that's how we start to see ourselves. When you get really, really good at this, you start to notice the minute you get tension anywhere in your body, you're like, okay, body, what's this about? What are we doing? And you can learn how to actively relax into it to stop that signal. And then, it takes just a few minutes to rewrite it all together. But starting to notice the physical body, we ignore it in spirituality. We ignore it in psychotherapy, right? But once we realize that the body holds so much information and learn how to utilize that information, it is true that suffering becomes a choice. And sometimes we actually like that choice. Sometimes we like the drama, right? But then when you're tired of the drama, you shift out of it and can shift into whatever resourceful state you want.
Earlier, Liz, you mentioned that this could open up the possibility of shifting realities. Maybe we could explore that a little bit more in your understanding of this. Do you think that we are existing in a multiverse with different possibilities and different realities, different versions of ourselves unfolding at the same time? Is this what you're alluding to, or is it something a little different?
Well, that's a huge question, right? What's the nature of the universe? But what I have seen is that every possibility is available. Every version is available. And they're all in your vicinity. You wouldn't be able to think about it or want it or even have an idea about it if it wasn't close by in frequency, right? So the version of reality that you see is equal to the version of the strongest neural pattern you have in your body. So if the strongest neural pattern you have is fear, you're going to attract is not the right word. You're just a match. And your brainstem will let you see things that create fear, right? All of a sudden that collapses, and it's like there's an electric fence that turns off and opens, and the thing that you want just walks in, because now you have the ability to see it. You have the ability to experience that reality. So I think around each one of us, there's a million realities. Which one will our physical body let us see in the moment and experience? When you know the tools that Bill and I share, then you get to choose. So I'll share one with you. So this person who came to an event of ours, and she's had a really, really traumatic life, really traumatic. And we were at the level of anger. And she said, Liz, should I not be angry with this person? Look what they did. And the list was horrific. Horrific. The person was her mother. So, okay, we take the body where it's at. Let the body tell the truth. So she is saying all the things this person did and feeling anger and hatred as much as she can. We're encouraging it, like bring it on. Feel it. Let your body tell the truth. While we're doing some of these patterns that we were talking about. I happen to be the person working with her. We get up into this higher area where the eyes are up. We're moving left hemisphere, right hemisphere. She's feeling it. And all of a sudden, she has compassion. Oh my God, my mother was a victim too. Then she started to see this whole reality, whole life from a different perspective. Of the person she saw her mother as, all of a sudden became something completely different. She saw her where her mom protected her, where she couldn't protect her, where she was the victim, right? Okay, fair enough. She feels better. She goes and sits down at her chair, looks at her phone, and she has an email from her mom. She never gets an email from her mom. And the email says, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. You're an amazing human. Not something her mother would say. But ding, 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 there it is. Right?
Wow.
She travels home and they need a ride. There's ferries involved. The only person she could think of in her whole life was calling her mother. Now, she would never call her mother because her mother would have cost her way too much in agony. Calls the mother. Mother says, sure, I'll pick you up. Let's go have dinner. Okay. Within a couple of weeks of that, we hear that she's traveling with her mother. Like, if that's not a reality shift, I don't know what is. And how did it happen that in a few seconds, when her body changed her opinion about her mom was triggered 1,000 miles away to send an email, you're amazing. That is a story that Bill and I hear only every day. Yeah. That and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Bill, earlier you mentioned that you get a lot of folks that are, quote, all hope is lost energy surrounding them. Can you give us some examples of some of the most dire cases that this technique has helped with?
So there's, as Liz just said, this is like daily. I mean, literally daily, but I'll give you one that really stands out, because if I was in this person's position, I would be like, I don't know if I could tolerate it. But we have a woman. Her name is Tia. She's in Australia, And Tia has a daughter by the name of Bowie. Bowie has something called Angelman's syndrome. Now, Angelman syndrome is kind of similar in some aspects to autism. Kids on the spectrum that are nonverbal and have very limited control of their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So, they grow up, but they have very limited capacity. So, Tia basically had told Liz, it's my daughter. She's now, I think it was something like 10 years old, and 3 times per day every time she made a deposit into her diaper,
Mm-hmm.
She would pull out the poo-poo and smear it on everything. Fecal painting,
Oh.
I believe is what it's called. And so the dog, and now you can't control the dog. Dog's you got it. And now also the forks, the knives, the tablecloth, the couch. She went through 9 couches.
Wow.
9 couches. You cannot have anything. When she would go to sleep, because she's worried about a child, so she'll sleep in the same bed, and she wakes up, it's in the hair. Her hair.
Oh, man.
I mean, you can see how it would be like, I freaking don't want to be here on planet Earth. I just can't. I can't. So what ended up happening was Liz had come up with this amazing idea. She said, Tia, I want you to do a Cognomovement session on how you feel about this. Tia acts like an angel, but I know she's got some feelings. Mother Teresa would have feelings about this one. She just, I care who you are. You're going to have some feelings about this. Well, anyway, Tia does the Cogno session, and during the Cogno session, we really haven't talked about this, but one of the things that's super effective about Cognomovement is that we utilize the natural part of your nervous system, which is the connectivity of the eyes and the brain and the spinal cord, because it's one. The eyes aren't separate from the brain. They are one with the brain. So you can tell where the neurological circuit or that part of the brain that's has an objection, is not functioning around this particular issue. Well, Tia is doing the session. She finds a place that we call it a glitch. There's a glitch there. And in this, a memory comes. Boom. She is back in New Zealand where she grew up. She grew up on a sheep farm. And on the sheep farm, at 5 years old, she found herself walking into the slaughterhouse, and the sheep were her friends. And there's her dad, slaughtering sheep. And, she's such a good little soul and helpful little girl. She was like, can I help? And they said, sure, grab the entrails and you're going to go deal with that. So it's poop and entrails, right? And traumatizing, the whole thing is traumatizing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, this trauma ends up becoming processed, and the most unbelievable thing happened afterwards. For 10 years, 3 times a day, fecal smearing. And, it's like you try to talk to Bowie, hey, don't do that. It's not like they didn't try. Not that they didn't try a million things. But she did this, and it immediately stopped. There has not been, it's been 3 years or more now, not one fecal matter smearing. And not only that, she utilized it to get her out of the diapers. There was another session she did about diapers. Now she goes to the bathroom on her own. She bought her first pair of big girl underwear. And so it is amazing that interconnectivity and that quantum lock that we put on a situation. This is no different. I use this example, but this is going on all day. Whether it's a husband and a wife, you got, or your sister or your brother, you got a feeling about the way they act. And all of a sudden you process that feeling in you, and then that quantum lock changes. It's a reality shift, or shifting dimensions or timelines, whatever you want to call it, but it happens on a daily basis. The key here, for everybody listening is that, we all want that other person to change, right? How many times you're like, if I could just talk this person into this, and it's the right thing for them to do, and they won't do it. Well, it actually has to be authentically processed in us, and then it opens up. We hold reality in place. There was because the audience you have would understand that there is, and this sounds bizarre, but there is actually proof of this in quantum physics, is that there is no objective reality. There's only subjective reality. So what that does is it puts the power in your individual hands. As you can shift your nervous system, which projects out a certain reality, that's what you get. So it is an ability to start taking control of this entire quantum realm and create what you want. Most of us are focused on what we don't want. The Bowie in our life doing fecal smearing. We have a proverbial fecal smearer in our life somewhere. There, everybody got one, right? But you just process that, and for all of us, it's a strong feeling, and we really do feel like it's not going to change, but there's a way. Once it's done in us, we stop sending the signal out. We stop sending the signal.
That's pretty incredible. The possibilities that can open up just by clearing these stuck emotions and energy. Like you said, it's almost like shifting into a different reality. Liz, I wanted to get some simple techniques that maybe the audience can use for themselves to get a feel for what Cognomovement does.
Okay. So first I want to say to you in the audience, I know you're going to share in the links below this. We have 7 hours full of mini sessions for free that you guys can watch and have a full experience. 7 different sessions our practitioners did. It's a replay of what's called World Cogno Day. And on that day, we do sessions all day long, free for the public. So that's one way. But I'll show you a really, really easy one. So when you shift perspective, right? When you shift the literal location of your vision, what you're looking at, you can change the perspective that your brain has. So let's say that you're trying to come up with an idea and you're facing north, and that's where your desk is, and just can't figure it out. Literally turning your chair 45 degrees will change your perspective. Then turn it again, 90, and then 180, and then all the way around. Just that turning around, you will change your perspective. You are shifting the hemisphere of the brain. When you spin all the way around, those are the days that you learn. So spinning back the other direction slowly, slowly will give you a new perspective. Another super easy one is letting yourself see the 4 opinions of your brain. And your brain has thousands, but just 4. So you got a problem with somebody, you're feeling that feeling again. So familiar, right? Aggravated, irritated, whatever. Let yourself notice what that sensation is. Where is your body active? And let yourself have that feeling. Next, move your eyes hard right. I mean, as hard right as you can send them, like you're looking at the wall next to you. Just breathe. Let yourself feel how you feel. Like, let them be as wrong as they are, right? On the next big breath, move your eyes hard left and let them be as wrong as they are, right? Let yourself feel it. Then move the eyes down. Breathe, few steps, let them be as wrong as they are. And the last one is just to let your eyes move in the up position all the way up to the ceiling, keeping your chin down. Focus on that sensation. This might take you 2 minutes, might take you 1 minute. But in those 4 positions, you will see 4 different perspectives and opinions on this one thing. Wow. And it has the potential to change that idea altogether. So when you connect your brain, give it something else to focus on, another part of the brain to have access to that information, and connect it to the sensation, the nervous system is quickly like, oh, yeah, that's not it. It's something else. And the whole thing changes. It's actually pretty simple.
Essentially, if we can locate a sensation in our body that's associated with a certain feeling or trauma or emotional state that we have that is undesirable, just by shifting the direction of our vision, we can essentially help clear that energy, right?
Absolutely. That's a great start.
Awesome. That is excellent information. Now, I want to get both of your thoughts on this to close out. How you feel about the collective state of mental health these days, especially with everything that's been happening the past few years. A lot of people have been questioning reality in general, and there's a lot of division, a lot of confusion. Unfortunately, the state of technology is not helping any of this, so there's a lot to navigate. I see a lot of people are having trouble with some of the realizations that are coming out, looking to different spiritual beliefs and becoming aware of things, but it is a lot to navigate through these days. How do you feel about the collective state? Are you hopeful about the future? We'll start with you, Bill.
Oh gosh, this is, we could do a whole program on this, but there's a couple of important facts here. That is that as a collective, we are evolving. Our consciousness is evolving. And this is not something that we didn't know was going to happen. The Hopi had predicted this. The Mayan had predicted this. And many others had predicted that this was going to happen. And what it is an evolution of consciousness where we are letting go of the fear states and moving closer to the state of oneness. Now, not everybody is going to go on this journey. Some people are like, I am going to stay divided, and I'm looking at it as those are good, and I'm good, and those are bad. And they keep stuck in this lower frequency states. Now, everything is evolving. There's literally the earth itself is vibrating at a much faster rate. We know that scientifically from the Schumann resonance, it used to be 7.8 hertz, and now it jumped 20, 30, 50, 100, and I don't even know how high it is. I haven't looked, but it's crazy, and it's never before done this. But these higher frequencies are absorbed by everything on the planet. The food we eat, the water we drink, everything is vibrating faster. So with that, what's happening is the collective consciousness is raising towards reality of oneness. Now, when this happens, oneness is oneness. That means that everything is known. But bit by bit, it's evolving, and the secrets are coming out. These secrets are like all the institutions that we thought were like absolutely solid. I mean, Americana, the FBI, solid. CIA, in our interest. Absolutely. Do no wrong. Do no harm. Medical, do no harm. Everything. But everything from finance to these institutions, even the religious organizations, everything it's crumbling, and it's crumbling in a way to allow the truth to come out. And the truth is coming out as a natural consequence of moving higher on the consciousness scale towards oneness. If I'm one with you, you got no secrets. It's like after we die, yeah, you did that. Yeah, you did that. Yeah, I know I did it. I know what you did too. It's like everything's known. There's no secrets. So that's part of it. And this is a very destabilizing time to go through. But the difficulty going through it is relative to our resistance to transforming. If I'm like locked down, no, I'm good and you're bad, and my perspective is right and you're wrong, and that you're going to have a hard time. But as we let go, it's not like that reality of hard times doesn't exist. It exists. You just happen to be on the opposite side of the street with sunshine and rainbows, and it's happening over there, but basically all of your attention is automatically drawn into another reality. And this reality is just as true as that reality. So it is a choice of love, compassion, and all of these other things that naturally emerge as you let go of your negative, hard feelings. But I will say one other thing that's very important, and that is this thing, your phone. As Liz was saying earlier, that every direction you put your eyes in is a different part of your brain. And she said, when you look down, even a child knows that you're sad, right? They know if you're down, your eyes are down, just like, oh, he's sad, or he feels alone, or whatever. Guess what? It turns out it is neuroscience. When you look down, you're the part of the brain that stops the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, which is the bonding chemical, gets turned off. And the circuit and parts of the brain that are involved with feeling down and feeling like alone and that sort of thing, those are the natural parts of the circuit of the brain that you stimulate. We took the information from the CDC and also the information from the cell phone industry, and we were able to find from 2007 to today, the adoption of the iPhone, actually smartphones, that is, and the trajectory of smartphones, hours per use per person, and it goes like this. Oh, yeah. We then asked for the diagnoses of anxiety and depression, and guess what? Since 2007, identical. They both look like this. And it's and so my encouragement here is just lift your phone up. Stop looking down at your laptop. Just look up. Look up. Everybody back in the early days, people used to say, "Hey, look up. It's not so bad." Everybody knew it. Look up, friend. So anyway, my encouragement is look up right away.
Right on. Well, Liz, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll keep it short because I know we're wrapping up here, but really what you focus on expands. If anybody knows Abraham Hicks, they're always talking about what you focus on expands. And if you're focused on how bad it is, it's going to get worse. And I think there's a lot that has happened to injure our brains, injure our nervous systems, keep us in this state of fight or flight, keep us in a state of it's all real bad right now. I mean, imagine being alive in the Crusades and not being a Christian. Like that would have seemed like the whole world was ending. And to them it was, right? So throughout every era and epoch, there have been these horrible things. But in this period of life, there are some incredible things going on. Things like ours that can shift the reality of a parent with a child of Angelman syndrome. Medical things that are actually making changes in physiology possible that were never possible before. There are people doing amazing things. The consciousness of the planet is lifting if you know where to look for it. If you're seeking out those people who are seeing a world in which there's beauty and grace and love and transition, right? If we're focused on what's bad, like the news wants us to, it's going to jack our nervous system up more and more and more and more. It's going to make our neighbor our enemy. It's going to make things that were normal and regular evil, right? So we have to come back to awareness. What are we focused on? What is that message I just heard? And does it affect the way I treat my husband? Does it affect the way I treat my dog? Does it encourage me to open my heart and help a neighbor? You know, does it encourage me to write something down for someone that encourages them today? So this is the thing. If we put our attention back on what can we actually do in this moment to make my life and someone else's better, those moments add up to pretty awesome. So Bill and I, we don't watch the news. People have to tell us what's going on. We just don't engage with that. And you know what? Our lives don't fall apart. What happens is we get these opportunity to meet the most amazing humans like yourself, like the clients that we work with worldwide. And we get to see at least one miracle a day. A real, true miracle. That is a cool way to live, and it's possible. So I would say, notice what you're focused on and whether or not it actually creates resource and energy and love in your life. And if it does not, maybe abandon it.
Essential information. You mentioned an offer for the audience. I will have all the links in the description, but one more time, let them know the best way to find out more about this.
So go to Cognomovement, and it's COGNO, and the word movement, MOVEMENT.com. Cognomovement.com/beyond. And that will take you to 7 hours of healing. Like you can watch it at your leisure, but it's literally 7 sessions. The second one is cognomovement.com/Gaia, like Gaia TV, GAIA. And it's a whole class where Bill teaches about the map of a level of awareness and how you feel and what you think changes reality itself. So both of those are free. I think they do ask for your email address, but those are for you, and you can share them with other people if you want them.
Excellent. I will have that easily accessible for everyone. Liz, Bill, thank you so much. Definitely love to talk again in the future. There's much more we can get into. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. We'll see you then. Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion. Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order.